Hello and welcome to Ignite, Awaken, Expand podcast. My name is Carrie Michelle, and I have the beautiful, amazing, lovely Ashley. Oh my gosh, babe. I am so happy that you're here and that we get to jam on a really powerful topic together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes. I was just on your podcast and now you're here. We're doing this equal exchange. And I feel like the conversation that we had on your podcast is basically was about embodiment and authenticity. So we're really just going to be continuing the conversation. So if you want to get more of this conversation, definitely go check out Ashley's podcast, The Embodied Self, right? And she's going to have just amazing juiciness. Just started it. I think ours was episode 2. Is that right? Yeah. So just more deliciousness is going to come on that podcast as well. So go check that out. I'm just going to do like a little blip on that. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about authenticity. And I want to start it off with just asking you, what does authenticity mean to you? Because everybody has a different perspective, a different view on everything, different lenses. And so I'm just curious to start it off. What is your perspective and your take on authenticity?
Yeah. I love this topic so much. And thank you so much for having me on here. I feel like every conversation with you is podcast worthy. There's always just so much like juiciness and goodness and wisdom. And I'm just so honored to be here across from you. So virtually across from you. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Authenticity. So I believe that authenticity is like honoring, it's a daily commitment of honoring who you truly are. It's honoring that which wants to be expressed through you. It's honoring the desires that exist within you. And just not compromising your true expression, you know. Before we were hopping on here, we were about to pop into the conversation. We were like, no, let's wait so it all comes out on the show. But there's so many reasons why we would be afraid to be authentic. You know, when we're not acting in alignment with our authenticity, I believe it's coming from a place of fear or a place of shame. And truly, when it comes down to it, like fear of not being liked or well loved. And so the power of authenticity and the power of this daily commitment is that if you continue to work at it and practice it and have that kind of be your North Star to live in alignment with it, you will start to attract the things that are meant for you, the people that are meant for you, the experiences that are meant for you. You'll feel so much more comfortable and safe to be in your own skin. Maybe not at first, right? Maybe not at first, because there's a lot of deconstructing that has to happen and unlearning and things like this. But the joy and the meaning and the truth on the other side of becoming who you truly are is where like just pure magic happens. So long-winded answer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many pieces of that we can touch on. One piece that really stuck out to me was that a lot of the times when we're afraid to really truly be our authentic selves, it's there's some fear there, or there's some shame there. And I'm curious, because that's something that you spoke to. Is that something that you feel like you resonate? Does your story include that in your process of really owning and dropping into your authenticity in this moment today?
1,000%. I mean, I think my entire story, I feel like authenticity is the backbone of all of it. It is, you know, I was born authentic. You were born authentic. We were all born fully expressed and perfect. I remember when I was younger, I was, you know, like creative, and I loved to dance and sing and be silly. And I wasn't afraid to express. I mean, I was courageous as hell. I would dance and like hula hoop in front of my 5th and 4th grade class and I would ask the teachers. I remember my cousin and my best friend at the time when I was younger would be like, can we just sing a song at recess to the students? And we'd like sing Britney Spears, and my voice couldn't go as high. Like we were just like having fun, we just wanted to
Yeah.
be playful and express ourselves in that way. And I feel like that stayed pretty true for me. And then the pivotal moment where I saw, now looking back on it, right? Because at the
Mhm.
time I didn't really know what was going on, but it was really around like middle school, like when I was like 12 or so, that my authenticity began to be really, really clouded. And it really stayed that way for a long time until like my 20s, probably my mid 20s, when I started doing a lot of this work.
Mhm.
I was abruptly kind of taken from one school that I was in that was so comfortable, and I sat with different people every day in the lunchroom, and I felt really good to be me. Like I was just myself, and I had to move to a different school with nobody I knew in a brand new town, um, and I feel like that's when my world was really rocked, and that's when I was clinging to whatever I could to stay safe and to be liked. I mean, that's when I started dressing. I had my mom take me to the mall to start, getting new clothes and
Mhm.
even acting differently. Like
Mhm.
I've always been very perceptive. So I would look at how, the girls were acting, and I was like, okay, if I want to be liked and if I want to,
Mhm.
get get the boyfriends and this and that, like I just have to mirror what they were doing. And I don't think at the time I realized just how much I was doing it, but I know that it was taking a really big toll on me, because being true to myself, what I know now is like huge. It's so, so, so important to me. Um, and then as I continued on in life, it's like the layers just kept getting caked on, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I think that pretty much all of us can relate to that to some level of moments where we really saw the importance of like fitting in or being a part of something. And so some people it may be really extreme or it's really subtle where you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, in this situation, I definitely did feel this pull to be like the others so that I was included and I was a part of something. And that's a basic need of ours. It's this survival wiring that we have within us to be a part of something, to be included in, because back in the caveman days, if you weren't included in, you died. You would
Hmm.
literally die. You had to be a part of the tribe, or else if you were on your own, you were going to be eaten. So there, it's this hardwired in part of us to want to be able to fit in and be a part of.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is that old survival way of being will kick in and be like, I'm going to die if I don't fit in, even though that's not true.
Hmm.
We're not in that same setting, but we have that. It's that feeling of, oh my gosh, I've got to be accepted. And sometimes that can mean taking away our authenticity and what feels an integral for us, how to show up and how to dress and how to talk, and who we're friends with and what we do. Will sacrifice that just to fit in and just to be a
Hmm.
part. And there's a price that we pay in doing that. And what that price is, I mean, there's multiple, but one is that you lose and forget who you are
Hmm.
and what really lights you up and what makes you feel good. And you I was just listening to this book, and it was talking about how when we fully embrace our uniqueness, our different, that what ends up happening is the opposite of what you think. You think that when we allow ourselves to be different, that we separate ourselves from others. But as we all fully own our authenticity, our differentness, we actually become one, because we aren't trying to be anything else but just us
Mhm.
or you. And as we all do that, we're giving, it's like it becomes this ripple effect and this permissioning for everybody else to be them. And then it's the visual that I get is almost like this puzzle piece that happens. Or we're each a puzzle piece, and this beautiful puzzle happens, and it creates this masterpiece of oneness,
Mm.
even though we're all a different piece to it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that visual. I also I pictured this puzzle right here, right?
Mhm.
And then it's like almost like as close, right? Like we might start out up here if we're moving away from who we are. The goal is to
Mhm.
all fit into this beautiful oneness puzzle piece. You and I
Mhm.
with these
I know, we did that on your podcast. It's awesome.
it's so great because I'm on my own, it doesn't
Yeah.
work. But with us, I guess when we bounce off each other, so great. I love
We're
it.
just good at making analogies together and just building on it.
I love it. I freaking love it. But yeah, it's like I picture everybody's like, oh, you moved away for yourself. Oh no, you're coming back.
Yeah.
You moved away. But the goal is to
Yeah.
all come back. And when you look and you see, oh, someone else is coming down and they're wow, like they're freaking, honoring who they are. Like
Mhm.
that's they come back down to the main puzzle, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that I always noticed this growing up. There's some key people in my life where I used to be activated by them in a really beautiful way because I'd be like,
Mhm.
wow, like
Mm.
they're not afraid to say anything.
Mhm.
They're not afraid to say something that's so freaking weird and out there, the stuff that I want to say, but I'm not saying it because I'm afraid of, what's going to happen. That's a really big way in which I saw this kind of taking form. And I, the other day, I was reading through my old phone notes, like years and years and years and years of phone notes, just like what did I used to write and think about? And I was not thinking I would share this today, but there was one experience that I had, and it was at a music festival. And it's at music festivals where I started to experiment with plant medicines and
Mhm.
with psychedelics. And there was just this one really standout experience. And the first thing I wrote down, and it's like the simplest thing, but it honestly has carried through. I think about this journey still to this day. It was like things are meant to feel good. The things
Mhm.
that feel good, you're meant to do. So every time, and it's like that simple theme relates to everything, right? It's like if you're
Yes.
spending time with people and energetically you don't feel good, okay, lean into
Mhm.
that. Like this is how my journey really started of like
Mm.
exploring why I wasn't feeling good. And then later I realized, wow, like I have not been living in alignment with my authenticity for so freaking long. And it is a core value of mine. So of course, right? Of
Mhm.
course I'm not feeling great and trying to numb those feelings, right? I think being an empath and being a highly sensitive person who has really like hypersensitive uh, mirror neurons and nervous system, like we take in the world so strongly that it's so easy to be hyper aware of
Mhm.
people's perceptions of you. And
Mhm.
I think that it's even I think I'm actually curious if there's a correlation, but I think that empaths can often veer so far away from their authenticity
Yeah.
because you feel so strongly. And because you
Right.
feel that, okay, well, how are you going to numb those feelings if you weren't taught, right? It's like cue the eating disorders and cue the like all the numbness that
Mm.
happens because we're trying to run away from that icky feeling of not being true to ourselves. That I feel like is my like that's the journey that I've been going on, and it's been a wild one, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Gosh, I love, oh my gosh, that's so good. I love that, that realization or just curiosity that you have around that with empaths. And oh man, we're both empaths, so
Mm.
I totally get that. And I feel like a lot of times empaths can go into this victim like space of all the things that we have, that we navigate and that we experience. And what's what's on the other side of the victim is empowered. So we have this, yes, we can fall into that, and it can happen so easily because there's this sensory overload. We're experiencing everything. Not only are our senses and our emotions heightened, but we also are tuned into and can feel everybody else's senses and emotions, and it can be a lot. And so, and it can feel really blurred, like where's me and who and you, and what am I actually feeling? Am I feeling my feelings, or am I feeling your feelings, or are my feelings being brought up because of what I'm experiencing? Yeah, it's just, it can get really confusing. And we can fall into that trap. So, but what's on the other side of that is empowerment. And so if you're somebody that has navigated that, I don't know who I am, or I don't feel safe being who I am and my authentic self, because I can feel other people's judgment of that, and I can feel their like confusion of it. Then what can happen is when we allow that to be there and realize that how that person feels about you has nothing to do about you, or how they're viewing you has nothing to do about you. That has everything to do about themselves. So when we truly understand that, if somebody has judgment towards us of our authenticity and we're feeling that, that's really about them. And so when we can release the like taking it personal, or letting it mean something about us, then there's this liberation that happens within our system of, it doesn't matter what other people think. And that's not coming from this like wounded place of, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. It's not that. It's, you get to feel whatever you want, and you get to project whatever you want, but I'm not taking it in, because it's not about me. That's about you. And you get to look at that, whether you do or not. Yeah, whatever, it's all good.
Yeah.
But I get to be me. And then when we do that as empaths, because we are so powerful, our energy is intoxicating. People are drawn to us. They love us because we feel safe. We feel we're nurturers. We love to help. And like, how can I help you? I'll take that for you. So people are really drawn to us. And so, but when we're holding our authenticity and we're emanating that energy, like true authenticity of, this is me in this moment, this is me, because we're always evolving and changing. So our authenticity is never the same. With each day it's changing. But when we hold that, we give permission for others to do that as well. And that is like like medicine for people's systems, because we have that hard wiring of, I have to fit in, I need to be accepted. And so if we hold this, you get to be accepted being you, and we're holding that energy as empaths because we're embodying it, then others feel that, and then they get to be their authentic self. And a piece that I want to share along that line, because those that are watching this, they see that both of us are wearing a hat. Those that are listening, both of us are wearing a hat because we freaking love hats. And so one thing that's super important to understand is that authenticity does not mean originality. So we don't have to be like different, as in doing nothing that anybody else is doing to be authentic. So your authenticity may be wearing, it's not the same exact hat, but like wearing a hat, even though somebody else is wearing a hat. Like it does not mean that you're not being something that somebody else, because what is original? Like who has like the original idea of anything? There was, if you had the inspiration to do something, most likely somebody else has done it before you. And I remember back when I was, I was married, or not married. I was an adult. I was after my marriage. I thought it was really cool to do a hot pink streak in my hair. Nobody did that. Nobody
Yeah.
did that. It was like so cool to do that. And then all of a sudden everybody's doing it. And so then I stopped. I'm like, I don't want to do this if everybody else is doing it. And I know you have a similar story of that as well. But it's, and now looking back, it's like, I loved it. I loved my pink hair. So I wonder now, with the way that I see authenticity and really honoring what feels good for me, like what you said, we're meant to enjoy this life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I would have kept my pink hair longer,
Yeah.
instead of being
Yeah.
like, oh, everybody else is doing it, I'm not going to do it anymore. So share your story. Because it's a great story as well.
Yeah. It's just so funny, and it's honestly silly. And I love that we can name it and just like have it
Mm-hmm.
out in the open, right? I mean, Carrie, 2 days ago, we were on a call together, and she was wearing like a little boho hat, and it was amazing, and she looked awesome. And then the next day, I had like a string of calls, and I had one with Carrie, and I knew a part of me was like, oh, I kind of want to wear that hat. I was like, oh, but no, but Carrie wore it yesterday. Like, I should wait a little bit longer. Like, I don't want, all these things started coming
You don't
up,
want to
right? Like,
copy,
I'm a grown ass woman saying I don't want to copy whatever.
right?
And I shared that with her on this call that we had. I shared that with you on this call we had yesterday. And then as I sat with it a little bit longer today, just really like letting the theme of authenticity just kind of like sink into my cells. Memory started coming up about that pivotal moment, right? That seventh grade moment or period where it's like I was trying so hard to fit in, but authenticity was important to me, and I was grappling with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being called out for just trying to be like other people, and just trying, I was being called out for something that deep down I think I knew, yes, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe I was doing a little bit. And there's wounding there. There's like deep wounding that I haven't fully felt through. And so just to tie it back to the themes and what you were just saying before, it's like authenticity gets to be the goalpost, and anything that comes up in response to it, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't wear the pink strand in my hair, even though I really like it, but someone else is doing it. Or
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
even deeper than that, right? Like, I want to be in a relationship with this person, or I want to do this with my life and no one else in my family has done this before. Like, that's when it starts getting really stretchy, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
paving of your own path and doing. I know that you have amazing stories about this. I know that we both, have led
Mm-hmm.
lives that are a little bit different than our families and people around us, and that takes courage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the point isn't to like hold back in fear
Mm-hmm.
when those things come up. It's like, okay, that's my goalpost, this is my truth, why is this coming up, let me lean into it and heal and do the work so that it doesn't hold me back. I just get to learn more about myself and integrate more, and then experience on the other side of all of that the joy and meaning that I and the inner peace that I strive for. And I share that from my
Mm-hmm.
heart. I mean, when I was going through my journey, I'm like, so much shifted for me the moment I made authenticity my goalpost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, must have been a little bit after my mid-20s, I would say, maybe mid-20s, where I started doing things that were more in alignment with me. And it started off as small, right? Like staying in and listening to podcasts because I didn't want to go to bars and get hammered anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd blacked out for a lot of college, and it wasn't true to me. But I was like, well, everyone else is doing this and seemingly happy, so I should too. But
Right.
oh my God, I'd be so depleted after nights out at the bars where I didn't have one deep conversation with anybody. Like that,
You
it
can't, the
just,
music's too loud.
oh gosh, yeah, like it just didn't feel good, it just didn't
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like the
Mm.
biggest piece for me where I found like meaning and joy outside of the everyday, right? And just how good it feels to like honor myself. I I wore so many masks with the people around me, but mostly with my family.
Mm.
And I mean, it's wild, Carrie. I was in relationships for like a year and never told my family because they weren't with people that were Jewish. And I was
Mhm.
afraid that if they knew that I wouldn't be accepted, I was like afraid of what that meant, right? I think I was ashamed that I was even doing it because, I'm my grandparents were all Holocaust survivors. I'm supposed to be fruitful and multiply. I'm supposed to be married by now. I'm supposed to be all these things. So there was so much shame. But
Mhm.
in that, I mean, I'm a pretty honest human. I think you can attest to that. You know, I'd lie to my family. I was doing
Yeah.
things that were not me. And I remember when I was in another relationship, and I finally, after a few months of lying about it, even though my family had a little speculation, I came clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to share this because I'm afraid of like what it means. I'm afraid you're not going to accept me. And there has to be like, you have to be so rooted in who you are
Mm-hmm.
to take
Mm-hmm.
acts that are in
Yeah.
alignment with your truth. Like, and for anyone listening, this gets built over time. You have to take steps, and it might be sticky and icky for a while, but then
Mm-hmm.
your nervous system softens in the knowing that you're going to be okay. You're not going to die, right? Date like,
Mm-hmm.
you just have to trust. And I'm sure you maybe went through similar experiences on your journey, right? Where there's
Mm-hmm.
probably
Yeah.
moments where you're like, shit, I like shared this part of myself, and now look what I'm getting in return. Maybe I'm not accepted, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's tension here. But it's like when you weigh the pros and when you weigh the tension of not being who you truly are, and the tension of the other, it's like, what's more important to you? And I can say now, I mean, now I used to hide everything from, I feel like, my parents. I was so afraid to like say something. I always tried to be this
Yeah.
like, you know, aside from a few things, maybe like really like a, perfect kid. But now it's like, no, I'm so into radical honesty, and my family and I have amazing conversations about plant medicine journeys. When I first went
Mm.
to sit in ceremony with
Yeah.
you, I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't
So
tell them. I
amazing.
kind of lied about it. And I feel like I'm making it seem like I lie a lot. I don't. I bent the I really I never did. I
Yeah.
started bending the truth because I was so ashamed and afraid.
Right.
But once I stepped into the courage of just like being like, you know what? This is me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a colorful human who
Mm-hmm.
loves to explore and seek truth and do things a little differently. I'm a little rebellious. Like, that is who I am. And I'm no longer hiding that
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
myself. And it feels really damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Feels really damn good.
There's a I think a lot of people can relate to living somewhat of a double life where you're a certain way with this person and then you're a certain way with this person, and but it never feels good because you're not really truly who you are, and nobody really knows who you are because you're not being fully honest about it, because it's
Mm-hmm.
scary. It takes, so one thing that you shared was shame and fear are the shadows of really truly owning your authenticity. So on the other side of that, for the shame is empowerment, for the fear is courage. And you brought that up, that it takes courage to really truly be you. And then the other piece that I want to add to it is that then it creates this liberation, this like in your system of, oh my gosh, I'm me. And you can receive it, not receive it, but it feels right and true for me. And so there's like an imprisonment when you're not fully you, and you're almost being you're like you're in prison around like not fully being able to be you, and you have to be confined to like what you have portrayed yourself to be to the people. So like, for example,
Yeah.
your family, you were confined to, this is who you are and this is how you show up, and these are the things that you do and these are the things that you don't do, and it wasn't true to you. So what you didn't feel fully free to be able to express
Mm-hmm.
your lifestyle and your choices, and you. I can so relate to that. Tattoos are a big deal to me, art, and just being expressive and having my tattoos actually share my story, and there's a purpose and a meaning to each one of my tattoos. And when I first started getting them, it was so scary because it was so against the religion that I grew up in. And so I had them hidden. I would put them on parts of my body where you couldn't see them. so that it was, I was following and honoring my authenticity, but still was kind of hiding it, and then finally, when I love art on arms. I love it being visual and actually seeing the art. And so when I decided to create art on my arms, it was like, okay, here we go, we're doing, like, this is permanent. And it was really scary. I remember basically letting my mom know before I went to go see her, I'm giving you a heads up, I have a tattoo, because they do not like them at all. They do not like tattoos. And they've made it very clear in the past, their stance on it and their opinion of it. So I already knew that they were not going to be happy about it. But it was authentic to me to have art on my body. And so to do that, it was so healing for me, so scary, so liberating, so empowering. And it took courage. So somebody else that might not be that courageous, it's like, what, a tattoo? But coming from my background and my life and my upbringing, it was extremely courageous.
Yeah.
And it really like built that courage muscle within me to start following my authenticity more. And what's interesting is that it evolves and it shifts and it changes. And then as you grow and become and embody more of your authenticity, you see that what was authentic wasn't fully authentic. So what I mean by that is me really embracing my sexuality and my expression. Coming from a religion where that was all completely shut down and like wrong, to express it, to engage in it, as far as your sexuality, and then even your expression with the words that you chose to use. I mean, you couldn't even say shit or butt or fart. Like, I mean, it's like, I mean, down to like, just even some words that you wouldn't even think of as a cuss word, you're not allowed to say it. So at least in my family. But yeah, cuss words are, so they're like, even my expression, my words were like cut off. And I could, if that felt authentic for me to express in that way, you can't do that. So what ended up happening is I was as I was becoming me and fully owning who I was, I had to kind of play in what is my authenticity. And so for a while, my authenticity was cussing a lot and really wearing a lot of provocative clothes, being extra sexual. And so now and having what I thought of as like this kind of sex appeal. So I would have fake nails and hair extensions, and I never got like the full-on permanent eyelashes, but putting on fake eyelashes, things like that I was like, this is my authentic self. Like, I feel so, because it makes me feel so sexy. And what ends up happening as you continually go down your path of really, truly owning your authenticity, you start to realize that some of those things were helpful in the process, but also you're realizing, wait, that actually isn't authentically me either. This is my experience. So I want to do preference that there's nothing wrong with having hair extensions and having nails. If it makes you feel good and it makes you feel alive and it makes you feel you, like, fucking do it. Oh my gosh, like, yes, like, do it. But it's interesting to watch my progression and my evolution of like those things being so important to me. And then this process of, and they're not important to me anymore. Actually, I love having no nail polish on. Not only no nail polish, I love having dirt in my nails, because then that means that that means that I was in Mama Earth, and I was hiking, or I was gardening, or I was doing something where I was deep, I was close to the ground. So, you know, it's so different than what I felt, what was my authentic self a couple of years ago. So I guess the piece that I want to share is, don't be set on, this is who I am and this is how I show up authentically as your always, you know, that it's like, it's set in stone. There is a constant evolution and changing of that. And what was true to you, and like what felt right for you to be you may be different in a month, in a year. So like let it change and fall away and change and progress into something different.
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite things about what you just said, everything I loved. But when you were like talking about playing, because it's a journey. And I almost imagine like authenticity. I think I referred to it earlier as like a love story. It's a relationship. It's like, what is your relationship to your authenticity, and how can you explore and play and have fun? I mean, for someone, yeah, maybe getting a tattoo is not the first step. Like, you can start small. Maybe it's wearing the color red, you know, like you'd be surprised, Carrie, I consider myself a pretty colorful person, like not necessarily in the clothes I wear, but just in who I am, you know, like I think I'm a colorful person. And so much of my life was dimming, both literally and metaphorically, my light, my color, my vibrancy, because I thought I have to be like everyone else. I mean, I'll never forget this. It's like, it's a pivotal moment for me, but it might seem so insignificant to everybody, so I'm going to share it. But when my last long-term relationship ended, and I have to give credit to that relationship because it was a safe space for me to explore what my creativity was, and how, you know, expressed I could be, like almost as if it was a safe space to play around and be like, okay, I could try this. Oh, I'm still loved after I said or did or wore this. Okay, let's try something else. But the way I used to decorate my apartment used to be so like, just so basic, just so flat. And I even the way I used to dress, like I used to always ask friends to help me, like, oh, I don't know how to dress or do anything. Like I wasn't really afraid. I was afraid of like not looking put together, I think is what it was. And the ending that relationship kind of propelled me into this journey of self-exploration and my spiritual awakening. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hang up these wild, colorful lights that I've been wanting to hang up in my apartment for years, but haven't, because I'm like, no, what will people think? That doesn't look adult enough, you know? Like
Right.
I'm always going to be a kid at heart. Like
Yeah.
that is my like magic, I believe, is like the playfulness, the funness, the like, sure, I'm an adult, but I'm, you know, I'm young at heart, and I always will be. Hanging those lights up were like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm declaring like my commitment to never hiding or dimming who I am anymore. And it started with something like that, right? Like something small, as small as that. And then it became like, I'm actually going to say this or that when something comes through, or I'm going to, you know, wear that thing. I'm going to dance. Like you had talked about, you know, sexual expression being so important to you. I love dancing. I love being in my body, but I also have family that I'm pretty afraid of seeing. You know, I used to be really afraid of them seeing me do that. So I would hide it for so long. And I was like, you know what? This has to end now. I still limit some things. I will say it, like this is an ongoing journey, you know? But the more I kept trying things, the more it felt good. And the more I'm like, okay, I'm still safe. If they have reasons to, you know, there are things that come up, like you said earlier, that's their stuff. That's not mine. And I'm the one who has to live my life. I'm the one who gets to live my life. And I want it to feel damn good. I want it to be colorful. I want it to be full of dance and expression and all the good, juicy stuff that you and I know so well. Like, yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ashley, you dance so good. And just FYI, you guys, she is a badass hula hooper, singer, guitar player. I mean, you have so many talents.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah, it's doing yourself and others a disservice to not fully express it and show it and be it. no matter what it is. And I love that you shared that story of something that would typically be like, oh, that's so simple. It's just some lights that you put up in your house. But it really is those like tiny little like turning points that create this. It's like you have this little snowball and you start rolling it down the hill, and it's like, yeah, it's really little at first, but then because it like picks up momentum, it brings on more snow, and then all of a sudden it's this humongous snowball. It's something that feels so little, but all it takes is that one action of, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm putting up these lights. Who cares if somebody comes over and thinks that it's immature that I have these up, or whatever it is that you're thinking that they may judge it. That this makes me feel good. And I believe that all of us have that like child at heart. It's just that some of us fully allow it to be expressed in our life, or we have completely denied it. Because that little child in us, that playful side of us, is that part that's like, life gets to be fun. And for whatever reason, like we have been conditioned that once you get older, it has to get more serious, and we can't do anything that's like,
Yeah.
silly or not adult and boring. I remember I actually was doing it was a race, but it was like an obstacle course race. And I was doing it. This was back when I was a personal trainer, and I was doing it with some of the women that I trained. And I wanted us all to be matching. So I got us all knee-high socks. And then we were going to put our hair in like buns, moon buns. And I got some ribbons for us to put in the moon buns that were all matching. Well, one of the women who is around my age, she might have been like a year older, we're in our 40s. And she was like, I can't do it was either pigtails or moon buns, something like that. And she's like, I can't do that. I'm, basically like, I'm an adult. I can't put my hair in pigtails and put ribbons in it. And I remember thinking, oh, that's so sad. I get it. I get it that, that there's conditioning, there's fear of what are people going to think of me, that's being immature. I understood it. And I felt, I was sad. I was sad for her that that there were so many blocks around like just having fun. And who cares if it looks immature. And you're actually wearing pigtails right now. So I like love this story even more, because it's like, own it. If that's not something that's fun for you, don't do it just because like, oh, well, Carrie and Ashley have put their hair in pigtails and moon buns on a regular basis. That means I need to do it. Like, that's not the point, but really questioning some of the things that you've decided is appropriate or not appropriate because of where you are in your life right now, as far as age, and question that. I love seeing an older woman with like purple hair or hot pink hair, in their 80s. I'm like, heck yeah. And you can tell it's on purpose, they're owning it. They love it. It makes them feel good. And just really, really questioning this, that there's a timetable or a limit of when you can do certain things or have certain things in your life, and then it's not appropriate anymore. Now it's immature. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you say I can't do that? No, I'm going to do it.
Yes, that's our rebellious side.
So I can't wear moon buns in my 40s. I'm totally going to do it. And nobody said that to me. But what ends up happening, what's wild, is that as we fully embrace our childlike and our pleasure and our fun and our playfulness, once again, it gives others permission to do that as well. So they're like, oh my gosh, she's like wearing moon buns, and like people are not like laughing at her and like, oh my gosh, or making her feel bad or putting her down or judging her. They're actually like, other people are doing it as well. Not that once again, you don't need to like follow the crowd, but it gives people permission to like do things that are fun and playful for them and what feels authentic for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one way, if that feels like, I don't even know what's authentic for me, like I don't even know what feels fun for me, because I get that. I was like that. I was so lost. I had so detached myself from anything that was true to me and felt right and good for me, that I didn't even know where to begin. So
Mm.
the best place to look is your childhood.
I
Like,
was just
what did
about to
you
say that.
love?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you love when you were a child? And just start there, because it might not be a thing for you anymore, but probably will. I
Mm-hmm.
loved cross stitching when I was a little girl. This might be a little known fact. I loved cross stitching. I would cross stitch all the time. I love cross stitching. My boyfriend bought me like a little mushroom. I haven't finished it yet, but it's super cute. It's like a little mushroom with a ladybug. And so I'm in the middle of cross stitching that right now.
I love
So
that.
hula hooping, pogo ball, braids, like I always wore my hair in braids, and singing, jump roping, all those things I loved when I was a little girl. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my, roller skating, like all of it. I love doing all of that still.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know what lights you up and what, like, puts you into that childlike playful state, then go back to your childhood, like tune into what you liked then, and just kind of play with that and see what happens.
Yeah. If you remember at the beginning of this episode, right at the beginning, I shared, oh, when I was younger, I was silly and playful. And what did I
Yeah.
say? I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to do gymnastics and play around and make up songs. Like those are literally all things that I've little by little have incorporated into my life, right? It's been a journey. I mean, I didn't sing publicly in front of people until very recently because I was afraid. It just,
Yeah.
I believe in that. I was going to share it if you didn't. Like, look at your childhood, even if it's just a way that you felt. It doesn't have to be a specific thing that you did, but even how did you like to feel? How did you like to spend your time when you had all the time in the world? And if you're not making space for that, then make some space for it. Find ways to
Yeah.
incorporate it, even if it's for 5 minutes a day or less. I mean, that's how my journey started. I wrote down a list. I said, what lights me up? And then I said, what do I spend my time doing? Those were the two lists. And I was like, wow, there's really
Wow.
nothing. It was like all the things that I love to do that lit me up, I wasn't doing because I was working,
Yeah.
60 plus hours in a corporate job. And I was like just trying to be everywhere. And I had so many groups of friends. I was always trying to be everything to everyone and go to like, I had no time for the stuff that lit me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's a really simple place to start too, is, start sitting down, have a little date with your authenticity and really question lovingly, right? Like get curious about it. Where am I holding back? Am I truly enjoying how I'm living right now? And what even little steps can I take? Maybe it's wearing, a funky color nail polish,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
right, like wearing an outfit. Maybe it's just telling someone how you feel about them, right? There's such beauty and power in just like authentically speaking out what you think in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
love like sharing love notes, and right, like just writing someone randomly and being like, hey, you really impacted me in this way, or just so you know, you doing this really allowed me to do
Mm-hmm.
that, or just like sharing the love and spreading just all of
Mm-hmm.
this. I think it really does encourage people to seek out and explore
Yeah.
themselves.
I'm curious, what's your love language?
I believe it's words of affirmation. The last I
I
took
knew
the
it.
test. Yeah.
Oh, dang it. I should have said it. I should have said it before you said it, because you just sharing, you know, um, speak how you feel, share with people how you feel about them, write them a love note. I'm like, I bet you her love language is words of affirmation, because that's something that's really important to you. When you love receiving that too, like you love it when somebody speaks to you the things about, like they notice the things about you, that
Mhm.
qualities that are empowering or inspiring,
It's
and
being
just,
seen.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that's how you're being seen. I feel
Hmm.
like through words and someone's,
Hmm.
recognition or
Hmm.
appreciation. That's just one way to really feel seen by people, and that is a value. for me.
Yes. And so for you, because that's your love language, for me, it's quality time. So I'm seeing when somebody is fully here, present, looking at me and just
Mm,
being with me. They're not distracted by something else. So that feels like that's when I feel the most seen by somebody, is when they're I have their presence. They don't even have to
yeah.
say anything. Some of the most
Mm,
powerful moments for me personally is just eye gazing. I'm thinking of my partner, and I've actually done it
mhm,
with women as well, where we've sat in silence and just witnessed each other.
mm,
That is like medicine for my soul to experience that. So since I've kind of touched on the love languages, go check it out. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. There's a test, and you find out what your love language order is, and we all desire all of it. So there's 5 different love languages. Um, but there's top ones that are really important to us, and that's how we feel seen and heard and loved and received the most, is our number one. And so when we understand that, um then we can speak that to our people, like, this is really important to me, that I
mhm,
receive this. Like, so I've got a girlfriend, she's words of affirmation, so she loves being told how amazing she is and how beautiful she is, and all the good things that she's doing. So that's not number one for me, so it doesn't come like instantly for me to do that. um, Quality time and physical touch are super important to me. So a lot of in-person things.
mhm,
Um,
mm,
but that's kind of going on a whole nother thing. But I want to come back to authenticity really quick and do like a one more little spin to it. And so we've been talking about kind of the physical, like how we show up, and just honoring like how we express ourselves authentically. But then
mhm,
also the piece that I want to kind of touch on is, how do we authentically honor how we're feeling? And that's always changing. So there's never like a sameness to how we're feeling. Like it isn't like, oh, this is how I feel, and this is, it's always
mhm.
changing every day, every moment, to really honor our authenticity, as far as how we feel. I'm curious, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, this is a great question. I feel like now we're getting into a whole other topic, because I think that authenticity and embodiment are related,
Hmm.
but one is, like you said, it is more physical, and then one is more in the body, right?
Hmm.
And I think this is what you're asking. For To me, embodiment is always being in communication with our bodies, and responding to, paying attention to the messages that our body is sending us, and then honoring
Hmm.
it, right?
Hmm.
So if I am, in a group of people and my body is like feeling really tense, I mean, I used to get really, really bad social anxiety and almost like panic attacks in certain situations. And now looking back, it's like, well, duh, my body was speaking to me. It was like, hey, these aren't your people. These
Yeah.
aren't the spaces that you're meant to be in. But did I listen? Eventually, yes, but for a
Hmm.
while, no.
Hmm.
And I think that I think that there's one thing to like be aware, right? There's like the process of embodiment, of being aware of the messages and the feelings and the sensations that your body is sharing with you. But then honoring it, I think that's when
Hmm.
authenticity comes in, because it's a whole other ballgame to actually have the
Hmm.
courage to, right, to leave those groups, or to
Hmm.
leave those experiences, or for me, like leaving an entire career, because it was the messages my body was sending to me, how I felt when I was on my work trips, how I felt when I was taking clients out. I felt so inauthentic. I was like,
Yeah.
mask, mask, mask. Like
Yes.
I was not myself. That's where, oh my gosh, I used to, that's where a lot of my like eating disorder got pretty bad, when I would go on these work trips. And it's like, okay,
Mm.
duh, Ashley, but I look back
Yeah.
and I love that version of me, and I have compassion for her, because she didn't have she had the awareness to an extent, but she really didn't know what was going on, and she didn't have the amazing tools that I have now, most, a lot of which I learned from
Hmm.
from you and through you, and by being, in your sphere. And um
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's wild when we're not truly true to ourselves and to our feelings, and really truly honoring them, like the havoc that it reaps in our system
Yeah.
of things that can manifest as far as like eating disorders, just abuse of other substances, um, physical illness, physical weight. There's all these things that happen when we're not fully true to what's happening in our system and what feels right. And we're just, and like you use the word like mask, we put these
Hmm.
masks on of everything's awesome. And I'm gonna be this person and do these things, even though it's not authentic to who I am, because that's what this person wants me to do, or that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do, to be able to succeed, or to be able to have a lover or whatever. So we make a sacrifice by not fully listening to what, like, the cues that our body gives us of this
Hmm.
doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel good. And then the other piece too that's really important is being authentic in how you're feeling in that moment. So like there's so many times that we'll put the everything is awesome mask on, with friends or family members or coworkers, and it's like nobody benefits when we do that at all,
Hmm.
because first of all, there's still an energetic communication that's happening. So 70% of communication happens through energetics. Only 30% is our actual words. So we can
Hmm.
say everything's awesome and I'm great and I'm fine, but it's not authentic. It's not true. It's not your truth. And then the energy, 70% of the energy is telling them, I'm not okay. I'm not doing good right now. And so then it's this weird mixed, it's like and then especially as empaths, we're like, I'm super confused. She's saying this thing, but I'm feeling this thing. And
Hmm.
and then it's just all, everything's just weird, and it doesn't ever feel good. It doesn't feel good for you. It doesn't feel good for that person or this or the experience. It never benefits us to sacrifice our authenticity, whether it's
Hmm.
through expression or how we're feeling or anything. What benefits you and everybody is by taking that radical responsibility of this is where I am and this is how I feel, and expressing that, but owning it, not projecting it. So I'm going to use the example of, like, say you're not feeling, you're out with some girlfriends and everybody's feeling amazing and they're super happy, but you're in a really, like, you're in a somber space where you're really sad and you're not really in that place. um, to speak it, name it, be authentic. You don't have to fake that you're happy and that you're having a good time, because
Hmm.
first of all, everybody, they can feel that. It might not be shared, might not be named if you don't have that type of a relationship, but it's felt and it feels weird and it doesn't feel good. And then you leave there going, I didn't feel seen or heard, or I felt it was draining because you had to be something that you're not in that moment.
Hmm.
um and I'm speaking this from like total experience, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I have this need to want to conform and just and be a certain thing so that other people, you know, feel okay, or it's so that they're not uncomfortable if I'm like
Hmm.
angry right now, and or I'm sad about something. And that's
Hmm.
been something that's been so important for me to do, is to speak my experience and speak how I feel, and but own it, not project it, and not be like, this is how I feel and I'm going to have all of you feel this. Hold that, own it. It's super important that, like, this is mine. And maybe an experience happened with this person that activated this feeling that I have right now, but I'm owning it. This is my feeling. Nobody put a gun to your head and forced you to be angry about something. You chose it. So own that and then speak it. You don't have to hold it in. Be authentic to your
Hmm.
feelings. Be true to them. So
Yeah.
important.
I think that the key piece in which this has shown up for me in my life is if I don't honor what's coming up, it's keeping
Yeah.
me from who I am, and thus keeping me from the experiences that I'm meant to have. And it just, if we go back to that analogy of like the puzzle, right? That's like kind of, let's say it's on the table here, and we're either moving away from who we are,
Mm-hmm.
or towards who we truly are in every action and way we express ourselves. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, I can think of so many experiences in my past relationships where I had values, but I was afraid to say what they were. I was afraid to speak them out.
Mm-hmm.
Things that I, that my, partners would ask of me, or like little things would come up, and it would feel so bad in my system. But just like you, I'd people please. I was so afraid of losing the love that I had, that I
Mm-hmm.
was afraid to speak up. And then what ended up happening was, oh wow, I've been in this relationship that is not meant for me anymore. And it's because I'm not speaking my truth. And the minute I
Mm-hmm.
started to, that's
Mm.
when, okay, our time has, it's been beautiful, but our time is gone, is done now. And I'm able to
Yes.
move through. We can stay so stuck in situations and friendships and relationships and careers and experiences that aren't meant for us anymore. Maybe they were, right? For some reason we were meant to learn lessons and go through them. But I think that when we resist the feelings, right, that we have, the desires that are within us, we are we are just postponing what I believe is inevitable. We're all meant to live in our truest expression of ourselves. We're all meant to live authentically.
Mm-hmm.
And I just encourage anyone listening that if there are those elements that you feel, if you do feel, right, that those points of tension, if you want to say something but you don't, if you feel something but you're, if anything that you're doing is coming from a place of fear, right, and you
Mm-hmm.
get really lovingly curious about that, that's just something to be explored.
Yeah.
And oh man, do we both have resources to help guide people through that, right?
We do. We do. It's, and it can feel sometimes daunting to like think of going there. Especially if you've spent your whole life not fully honoring your authenticity and your emotions and your experience, and prioritizing that as number one. Um, then yeah, it can be like, nah, I don't like, I don't think I want to go there. And I don't even know how to begin. I don't even know how to begin. So, my kind of advice is just take it one day at a time, or one moment at a time, and just really just ask yourself on a daily basis, multiple times throughout the day, am I in my authentic self? And if the answer is no, what's one thing that I can shift to like be more authentic in this moment? And it could be um changing your hairstyle, putting your hair up or putting your hair down. That just feels more like you're more connected to you and who you are and how you feel. Or it could be putting up some cool lights, or it could be honoring how you feel. So I'm not being authentic to myself. I'm acting like I'm happy, but I'm actually really sad right now. So it can be just one thing. Just we don't have to, if you're seeing that you're not living an authentic life in this moment from listening to this podcast, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not me, I am not being me. That's okay. Like, first of all, fuck yes for identifying that and realizing it, because that's honestly the hardest step, because you cannot change anything that you don't have awareness around. So if we're living like in this denial of it, you are now in control, like it controls you, because you can't change anything that you're in denial of. So as soon as you take responsibility and you have awareness on it, now the possibility is limitless of what can be changed and shift, because you now have a choice. You didn't know, now you know. Now that you know, you can't go back. You can't unknow it. So now you're going to be aware. So now you have a choice. Am I authentic or not in this? And so one thing that you can do is just take it one bite at a time, one moment at a time, and slowly over time of practicing this authenticity muscle, you're going to see that you just live an authentic life. You are unapologetically you in all ways. in the way that you express yourself, in the way like through what you wear, how you speak, your feelings, like all of it, you're true to it, and you're authentic to that all day, every day, in every moment. And you're also giving yourself permission to not be perfect at it too. So when you notice, oh, I'm not being authentic in this moment, all right, cool, all right, how do we realign and recenter and come back into our authenticity?
I love that.
Is there anything you want to share to that, to just kind of bring it to a closure?
That was all so good. I think the one thing that's coming through right now is that for me, I did this journey alone for, excuse me, a little while. And then it was when I found community and actually, and I will say finding community, like it found me, right? Like once you commit, right? Once you start making, once you declare, right? And that could just be you thinking it to yourself, you writing it in a journal, you feeling it in your body. But once you declare that this is your goal, that authenticity is your goalpost, your North Star, right? To be in alignment with that every day, your world's going to shift without you even trying. So you can just find like an exhale just in knowing that, because that's what happened to me. I was guided, right? I was guided. I when I got out of that relationship, I listened to this podcast and I found Samantha Skelly, and then I found you, and then I found the community that propelled me forward, and then I found this person and that person and this group. But finding community, like if you start to notice people coming into your life or your awareness who embody something that you want to embody, it's because there's a part of you that it's like it's lying dormant within your body and your soul right now. It's like, hey, this could be you, this is you, you're just not acting that way quite yet. Surround yourself with those people. There's amazing communities out there, and for me, the community aspect and finding like-minded people who are dedicated to this work as well, like that's what helped me shift my entire reality in the last few years. I mean, really shift in the last few years. It's like night and day. So I hope that helps people find peace.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. It is like, we don't have to do this alone. And it's so beautiful when you have community and like-minded friends and people in your life that are also like they're in integrity with their authenticity. Then it just, man, you're able to embody it quicker and more, because you have these examples all around you, and it's inspiring, and you can't not be more of that as well. You really truly are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself the most. So if you don't like the people that you surround yourself with and they're not authentic, take responsibility and
Get the fuck
change
out of
it.
there.
Yeah, change it, and just go, thank you so much. Thank you for the experiences, and these contracts are complete. I'm ready for some new ones that really help me to up level. I'm curious, I'm not on social media. Do you have a Facebook group that you have? Do you have something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I do have a Facebook group. I feel like it's been pretty inactive. Like I was always trying to get my feel with it. But now, especially that my podcast is launched, I really want to have a
Yeah.
space where I can continue to, share even more resources and in-depth experiences. And so I am hoping to, have that space just be a community and be a safe space for people to really explore like all of the parts of themselves.
Yeah. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So in the show notes, I'll put your Facebook link and things like that, so that people can, if they're like, I don't even know where to start, I don't have that in my life, then we can, send them in your direction to just be a part of a community, because it really does help to have people around you that are in just a beautiful vibration that that you're desiring to be more of, which is authenticity and embodiment, and just really truly discovering and being your true self. So thank you so much, Ashley, for being here. I love this conversation. We could go. I still want to keep going, but I know that
Same.
like at some point we have to come to a completion. So
Mhm.
we will definitely be doing more of these. I'm excited to come onto yours, and then you can come onto mine. We're just going to be doing this, back and forth, great conversations on our podcast. So go check Ashley out. I'm going to put all of her information in the show notes and just support her because she's an amazing human that's doing amazing things in this life. And I just appreciate you. I appreciate what you do, who you are, and our friendship.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Carrie. That words of affirmation, like I'm
Yeah.
feeling seen as hell right now. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk with you as always and just be in your space. And yeah, I'm receiving that, and I'm also just sending you so much love. Thank you.
All right. Beautiful. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Mwah.
Mwah. Bye.